Hardcore mode is the most difficult game mode Minecraft has to offer. With only one life and the game locked to the hardest difficulty, there's no room for mistakes. I've decided to take this challenge to the next level by placing an additional restriction. Anything that makes the armor bar appear is not allowed. Without armor, I'll have to rely on skill and game knowledge to survive. If I die, the series ends. My name is Trenticlees, and this is my journey. My journey begins in the scorching heat of the desert as I stumble across the ruins of an ancient civilization. Once I finished converting the desert temple into a desert home, I decided to begin working on the first major milestone for any Minecraft survival world. The phantoms had disappeared, but not for long. This time, items potions are both found in the Nether Fortress, one of the most completely full, meaning I was able to obtain my first two buckets. As I approached the village, I was intercepted by a roving man. Build the portal and venture about was getting out of the Nether. Finally unlocked, I crafted some Eyes of Ender and began Eye of Ender into each slot. I was ready to travel to the activated. But the Ender Dragon is only the beginning. The dragon may be slain, but my time in the end is far from over. The dragon was simply a gatekeeper, protecting the true treasures that lay deep within the void. The most notable of these treasures is the coveted Elytra, which can grant me the power of flight. But to use the Elytra to its fullest potential, I need firework rockets, which are crafted from paper and gunpowder. Thus, my first task is to construct sustainable means for obtaining these ingredients. The first ingredient that I decided to tackle was the paper. I figured the best way to get a lot of paper was through an automatic sugarcane farm. I started gathering the materials I needed to construct the farm, and I quickly realized I was missing an important ingredient: nether quartz. Quartz is used to craft observers, an essential part of most automatic farms. But as the name implies, nether quartz can only be found in one place: the nether. Some quartz up in the ceiling. After obtaining the quartz, I gathered the rest of the ingredients I needed and began the construction of my sugarcane farm. I started by placing railing beneath the ground, and above the railing I placed the dirt upon which I would plant the sugarcane. I then placed a row of pistons 2 blocks up, adjacent to where the sugarcane will grow. I then placed the observer on top of the center piston and connected it to the row of pistons. This way the observer would see when the sugarcane reaches its maximum height, causing the pistons to harvest the top 2 layers of the sugarcane. I then placed a hopper under one of the ends of the minecart rail and fed it into a chest. I then placed a hopper minecart on the rail where it would continuously move back and forth under the sugarcane, collecting the harvested crops and feeding them into the chest. After all of that was set up, all I had to do was plant the sugarcane and close it off, and my project was complete. Now that I had unlimited access to sugarcane, it was time to move on to the gunpowder. Just like the sugarcane, I determined that an automatic farm would be my best option. But this time, I would be making an automatic creeper farm. I began gathering the materials to construct this farm. After I finished gathering the needed materials, I began constructing my automatic creeper farm. I started by building the area for the creepers to spawn in. Next, I dug a hole in the center and placed open trapdoors along the edges. This way, the creepers will think the trapdoors can be walked over and will fall right into the pit like the idiots that they are. I then placed carpets in certain locations to prevent spiders from spawning. Once the carpets were placed, I brought over some cats and positioned them on the back walls so that they would scare the creepers into the center pit. Then I continued digging the pit in the center, placing water at the bottom so the creepers would flow into the collection area. I then constructed the collection area. I used soul campfires to kill the creepers, and beneath the campfires I placed hoppers to collect the gunpowder and deposit it into chests. I then constructed the roof of the spawning area using trap doors to lower the ceiling height and prevent skeletons and zombies from spawning. Once the roof was completed, all I had to do was a bit of decorating and the automatic gunpowder farm was completed. However, there was still a problem with my gunpowder farm. Minecraft's spawn mechanics prioritize spawning mobs at lower elevations, so the caves beneath my farm render it highly inefficient. Therefore, I decided to delve into some of the caves in the area and light them up with torches to prevent mobs from spawning. Oh, shoot. And there's a creeper. And there's another one. And there's another one. With my automatic farms fully operational, it was now time to gather the rest of the supplies needed to venture into the deep end. First, I crafted another diamond pickaxe and enchanted it with a silk touch book I had lying around. This way, I could pick up my ender chest, effectively using it as portable storage. I then went to my village to obtain some more steak. Next, I carved a pumpkin so I could wear it on my head and prevent the Enderman from becoming aggressive if I accidentally make eye contact. The next step was to gather a large quantity of building materials to traverse the void between the end islands. However, some old rivals of mine had other plans. And say goodnight. With the pillagers out of the way, I began gathering building materials. I decided to go with logs because I can store them in log form and then craft them as needed into planks and then slabs. This way, I can travel as far as possible per inventory space. After a long time of gathering logs, I decided to check in on my gunpowder farm, and I realized it was still very inefficient. So I decided to light up some of the deeper caves in the area. With the deeper caves lit up, I went back to gathering materials, knowing that my gunpowder farm would now be much more effective. However, as I was running back to my base, I caught a couple pillagers scouting my territory. Eventually, I was satisfied with the amount of building blocks I had gathered, and it was now time to sort out my gear and return to the end. I loaded up my ender chest with the building blocks, stocked my inventory with potions, and used my silk touch pickaxe to pick up the ender chest. Then I set out for the stronghold. Once I arrived in the stronghold, I equipped my carved pumpkin and stepped through the end portal. I then crawled through the gateway to the deep end. I found myself on a tiny island surrounded by some larger islands and an endless expanse of void. I drank a potion of slow falling so I would have a chance of surviving if I fell, and then I began to traverse the pale landscape in search of the city at the end of the game. Eventually, I saw a towering structure looming in the distance. As I drew closer, I saw exactly what I wanted to see. A boat was floating a short distance away from the end city. All I had to do was get to that boat in one piece, and the Elytra would be mine. But that would be easier said than done, for the city was guarded by a multitude of shulkers. After fighting my way to the boat, I went below deck, and there it was, the one item that would open endless possibilities for the future. As I equipped the Elytra, I knew that my journey was only just beginning, that there is so much more I have yet to accomplish. But first, I need to get myself safely back to the overworld. I returned to the deck of the ship and collected another trophy of the end, the dragon head. I then jumped overboard and took flight for the first time. Once I located a gateway, I returned to the main island and then back to the overworld. Back in my home, I put away my loot and used the shulker shells I collected to craft some shulker boxes. Now that I had successfully conquered the end and obtained its treasures, I was ready to begin building up my territory and exploring all that this expansive world has to offer. That is, after I tend to some unfinished business.